we plan for activities in class that would be interesting? I know that we have the capacity, we have the resources to set the most amazing exercises in our classes, right? But the problem is time. With all the work that we have, with all the administrative tasks that we are overwhelmed with, and the research that is required from us, I think at some point we bug, right? So I think having AI as a tool that could help us somehow making things easier is much more interesting, right? So I'm going to share with you my expertise. Again, it's not that I bring something that no one knows about, but it's just my experience with it, and you can keep playing with it and learn more and just share it with us. So what should we do first of all? Okay, first of all, before we start class, when we got our syllabus, and you know, sometimes you are in that position and you tell me who was in that position. You just arrive at the university, you're a fresh arriver, and then the PL is here like, okay, you're gonna teach this course. I'm like, no, I never taught this course. Never mind, I'm gonna teach it. I don't have any resources, I don't have anything. You manage. So if you are in that kind of situation, you will need to have a lesson plan. You need to know what to teach. You need to know where to find the resources, and you need to know how to plan my class. Okay, how can I get the maximum of it? So here, ChatGPT can be of a great help. How's that? So I asked ChatGPT, I am preparing a micro teaching session. Okay, you can also say teaching session, okay, whatever you want. On psycho-oncology. This is my course that I'm teaching, okay? And so everything that is in green is editable. You can change it the way you want, okay? And I want to implement a mix of micro teaching styles, and here I suggested role-playing, case studies, simulation, and then I just etc. If ChatGPT would like to suggest anything different, right? I am aiming to enhance my pedagogical strategies. So you need also, exactly as Robert mentioned before, to be as precise as possible. You need to tell ChatGPT what are you looking for, right? Okay, can you see the screen?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can talk here if you want. I can feel you. So you need to be, okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so you need to be as specific as possible in order to have the best results ever. So, and then I added something else. I said, can you help me outline a detailed 90-minute lesson plan? I'm very specific here. It's CAA, it's 1 hour and a half, so I need to take the maximum advantage out of it. That includes a clear objective, instructional strategies, assessment methods, and potential teaching aids. 4 stars, right? Yeah, show me what you can do. So, do the magic, and here it is. So I'm showing you exactly what appears on ChatGPT, and this is ChatGPT 3.5. That's not the 4 version that you have to pay for, so everyone can afford it. So it gives you an objective, and why objectives are important, because at the beginning of your class, you need to mention that to your student, right? To give them some sort of a frame. This is what we're going to do today. So when you do that, the students remain targeted. They know what they're gonna learn, and they know how, right? So gives you objective, then it starts giving you some ideas. So role play, it tells you how to do role play. So I was at the first I was reading and I was like, okay, thank you. This is obvious, I know how to do role play, this is not the first time. But for people that are not very familiar with it, that could be quite interesting. So divide participant in pair, provide each pair with a scenario related to a cancer diagnosis and its psychological impact. For example, remember it's psycho-oncology, we're still in my specialization. Instruct one participant to act as a psycho-oncologist and the other as the patient. Participant will conduct a brief counseling session, applying empathy, active listening, and appropriate communication skills. So this is all what I want. It gives me already a scenario, and it gives me what I should focus on. Now this is role play. It gives you also case study examples, right? So look, for example, at any specific case study. Participant will work individually or in small group, whatever you're looking for. And then facilitate a discussion where participants will present their idea, their intervention, because they're going to look at it as some sort of a challenging situation, and they need to come with solutions. So debates are the best tool ever when it comes to dynamic in class, right? Because here, and it's not about judging, and it's not about giving the best answer, because there is no best answer. It's just we're outsourcing, brainstorming together for somehow having some sort of a best intervention. okay? All together. No one will come with the right scenario or the right things to do. So again, it's collaborative discussion. It gives you also an idea for a simulation. So here, what I really like about that, describe the simulation scenario where participants will take a different roles, such as patient, family member, and counselor or psychologist, right? So we will have them all together. They don't have here to act, for example, in role play, we have two person, a patient and a psychologist. So the psychologist has to act professionally as a psychologist and they have somehow to counsel the patient. Here, everyone will act naturally. And I love when my students do mistakes. And I always tell them that, please do mistakes. Please give me wrong answers. When I said that at the beginning of my class, when they just start meeting me, they're like, oh, is she crazy? What is she saying? Doctor, are you sure? I'm like, yes, because the more you make mistakes in class, the less you're doing it on my exam. So please do. Say whatever you want, it doesn't matter, right? Because it's now or never. Now we are gonna fix everything. Now I'm gonna look at what are your preconceptions, what are your ideas, what are your misunderstandings, and we will be able to think about it together and find a better way to really save it in an appropriate way. So here, then they will be playing the role, and I'll tell you, it's always full of surprises. Sometimes I rediscover my student, and it's really fun. So most of the time what happens is that we have some people playing and we have some people observing. So the one that are observing, I always tell them, observe what are the negative aspects that could be improved. This is what I say, improvement. And what are the good points, right? And this is something that we always talk about together as a group. And everyone is bringing in his idea, and it helps somehow building that kind of knowledge. And it helps the student appropriate the knowledge. Okay, it's horizontal, it's not vertical. It's not coming from me, right? As if I'm the only expert matter. Here, you are also expert, and you are also participating in developing that knowledge. Of course, here, ChatGPT also added something, a bit of a flavor, group discussion. So read a discussion on the challenges and insight participants gained from the role-playing, case study, and simulation activity, and encourage them to share their reflection. Reflection are very important. Why? Especially in psychology, but I think everywhere, because it talks about how they felt about it. It talks about their critical thinking, their critical analysis. It talks about their emotional management. And these are empathy, as I told you, communication skills. All of these aspects are very important to highlight, to discuss, and to describe all together, to share all together, so that we can really make or have the maximum potential of that course. So then, remember, I asked for assessment tools. Remember that, right? To make my life easier. So for the role playing, it gives me an idea about what should I evaluate. Evaluate participant role play performance based on what? Demonstration of active listening, empathy, and effective communication. Of course, I can edit that as much as I want. I can add something, I can remove something. It depends on how long my exercise or my role play is and what are my objective, the objective of the day, right? Use a rubric to assess their ability to apply psychology principle in the counseling session. Better than this, I can ask ChatGPT to produce a rubric for me right after that, and it will, and then you can just edit the rubric. So it makes your life much more easier. It's not that you cannot, again, come up with that knowledge yourself, but what you can produce in 1 hour, ChatGPT can produce it for you in 5 minutes. Can you imagine? That's great. Why that's great? Not because we're lazy, okay? It's just because it frees our mind so that we can focus on something different, so that we can read more, bring more new update literature, so that we can feed our students with something that is really updated, right? I go to a lot of courses, for example, or I hear students going to courses and I'm like, doctor, it's the same. Again and again, it's the same content. And I'll tell you something. I'm not a statistic person, I'm a psychologist, okay? So I have master's student psychology. They had a course in psychology, which is Introduction to Neuropsychology. I don't know if any one of you relate to that. Neuropsychology, biology, neuron, brain. When I say neuropsychology to my students, they're like, can you skip this course? I'm like, no, it's mandated. So of course they have neuropsychology 1 and then they have neuropsychology 2. And unfortunately, because that was some sort of an old program, there was some overlap in the syllabus. So the students were not happy, like, doctor, we're going to go through the same again. It's like, we want some challenging content. I'm like, don't tempt me, don't tempt me. Like, okay, you want challenging content? It was really challenging. I really love that course because, again, I used a lot of AI to produce whatever I needed. Exactly as Robert said, I was using Kahoot a lot. I love Kahoot. It's fun, and it helps me creating a lot of trap for students when it comes to the question, like, you're like MCQ? Yes, doctor. Let's see. So they really love it. And I also include their names within the Kahoot to make it more personalized, you know? So I remember, for example, one time I was teaching different type of personalities. I'll teach them different type of personalities, and during the teaching class, everyone was recognizing themselves. Oh, doctor, I'm obsessional. Oh, doctor, I'm histrionic. Oh, doctor, and they were profiling themselves. And one of them that diagnosed herself as obsessional, at some point told me, doctor, can I be obsessional and antisocial at the same time? Like, no, never, it can't be. The obsessional personalities are people that are very, very respectuous. These are people that will never even curse you, that will never tell you something wrong. But the antisocial don't care. They don't care at all. I'm like, it's not possible. This is a dream that will never happen. So, and her name was Afifa. So in my slides in the Kahoot, I was like mentioning, for example, what is antisocial personality, and one of the things that I wrote, what Afifa desire, what she will never have. And then everyone was laughing about it, and they remembered what happened in the discussion that happened in class. And most importantly, they remember why I said so. Why I said so, because Afifa has very high superego, very high value. She's a perfectionist. She can, even if she's super angry at some time at someone, she will never be able to lash out, which is an antisocial person will do it super easy. They don't care, right? So again, it's them learning symptoms and learning different trait of personalities from the DSM-5, right? I'm not just taking that from some sort of a website or Googling it or whatever. It's the DSM-5. It's actually our Bible or Quran or whatever when it comes to psychological mental disorders, okay? But they learned it in a very easy way. It wasn't boring, it was fun, yeah? So we can do all of that, having fun activities with our students, as I was saying. So again, here, let's go back to our assessment. Same for the case study, they give you some ideas. For the stimulation assessment, they give you some ideas. For the group discussion, they give you also some ideas on how to assess it. Now moving on with the teaching aids, how can ChatGPT help me or give me some ideas, of course, using PowerPoint, blah, blah, blah. But we have handout containing the role-play scenario. So that could be interesting because sometimes you ask a student, okay, you need to play the role of X and Y, and they're like clueless. Like, I don't know. Especially if I assign the role of a psychologist. If I assign the role of a patient, they kind of manage. But if I say you're a psychologist, they're running away. They're like, oh, what should I say? What question should I ask? I don't know. So if you give them some sort of a scenario or some sort of a guidance, then it helps them feel a bit more comfortable, and then they start enjoying the game. Rubric for assessing role-play performance. This is something that I definitely need to issue because I need to assess them, okay? Whiteboard probably, or flip chart for brainstorming and summarizing key points for discussion. This is one of the suggestions. Again, it's not all. I'm just showing you, I mean, whatever I received at first. So you can keep asking. Just ask me, give me some more suggestion. And then ChatGPT will keep giving you some more suggestion, but try also to orient it in what type of a suggestion you're looking for so that it can give you what you're looking for. Now, what did I say? Sometimes we're talking about case studies and the students are totally clueless. So how can you make that practical? First of all, I want some scenario. I'm super tired today. I don't want to think about a scenario. Just give me a scenario, right? Make my life easy. So here, I asked ChatGPT, can you provide 2 examples for each activity for a master psychology student? So here, very important. So it's again the continuation of my conversation with ChatGPT. Okay, so we're talking about case studies and these different activities. So very important, I asked for 2 examples for each, and I asked for master student. Very important, we need to specify because it depends on that. The activity will be somehow tailored, depends to your student level. Now, moving on, it gave me different scenario. Like for example, the first one with a psycho-oncologist that would meet, for example, a patient that just knew about himself or herself having cancer, right? The diagnosis part or step. And the second one is with a cancer survivor struggling with survivor guilt. Very interesting. I mean, probably surviving guilt, I wouldn't think about it straight away. Diagnosis, yes, we see that a lot. But survivor guilt, I wouldn't think about it straight away. But ChatGPT helped me pointing it out as an important topic to talk about. Now for case study also, it gives you different ideas. For example, here participant will receive this study about breast cancer patient experiencing severe anxiety and depression post-treatment. Then just you need to check to analyze the case study. What are the potential risk factors? We need to recommend evidence-based interventions. Evidence-based, very important. We have keywords here that are primordial in order for our student to get the maximum benefit out of that activity. And then it gives you the same for simulation, for group discussion, so it's really resourceful, right? You don't have really to worry about all of this. Now, moving on. As I told you, now I have my case study, I have my scenario, but my student is freaking out. Doctor, I don't want to be the psycho-oncologist. No, ask her. No, ask her. No, ask him. You know, we've been through that. So let's help our student into knowing what kind of question you should ask. Because the most important for us, it's not what question they will ask, but how. This is what, in my plan, in my objective, I'm focusing on. If my objective was different, if my objective was, I want to see how the student will manage the interview or the counseling session, then I will not give him any help. But since I'm measuring communication skills, empathy, and active listening, it's fine. I can definitely give him some hands out or some help with that. So I'll ask ChatGPT, can you provide me with typical questions that the psychologist should be asking a patient suffering from cancer? Again, you can tailor it. You can write for suffering from cancer survivor problem, for example, or suffering from breast cancer, lung cancer. You can specify it, but I just kept it general. And this is it. We have questions about emotional well-being, coping strategies, body image and self-esteem, social support, treatment-related distress, quality of life, existential and spiritual concern. So I was quite happy because honestly it covered most of the important aspects that we need to discuss whenever we're with a patient suffering from cancer. Then now it's up to the student to show me how they will ask these questions. What is the order, how they will introduce the question, how they will receive the answer, right? How they will support the patient. And this is what I'm going to focus on. But they have already this question, they can look at it, they have an idea, they're prepared. Now, and I'm happy with that. Now moving on to interactive activities in class. So we already spoke about some. I would like to enlarge it a bit more. So let me take you to the integration of interactive activities. I'll change the specialization. Okay, let's forget about cancer and psychology and let's focus on something different. So at ChatGPT, I would like to incorporate more interactive activities into my course on, and here I'm specifying the title of the course, Psychology of Exceptional and Gifted Children. Here are the main topic to cover. So what I'm gonna do, going to my syllabus, copy, paste, the different chapters, that's it. Okay, I'm gonna paste it all here. And then here are the learning objective, which is called also the CLO. Copy and paste. And what we're doing actually is that we're giving all the information needed, tailored for that specific course. Can you help me design 2 interactive activities? Again, I'm asking very low, but you can ask more. 2 activities that will allow learners to apply and deepen their understanding of these topics. And let's check what ChatGPT is suggesting. Case-based collaborative problem solving. So it comes with an objective and then activity description. Divide the student in different groups. Provide each group with a case study featuring a child who falls under the category of exceptional or gifted. In the group, students need to discuss and identify the specific exceptionalities or gifted traits. Based on the analysis, each group must brainstorm and outline a comprehensive intervention plan that address the child needs, of course, tailored to the child needs. Encourage group to consider multidisciplinary approach. So whenever we're asking these students are majorly psychology students, but we don't want them to focus only on psychology. So we are going to tell them that you need to address different approaches, right? Education, psychology, and family support. All of it together, all of it falls within the psychology specialization. After designated time, we will tell them to share with others. And this is when it becomes also very interesting, is that others also will interact with their peers. So it's a peer interaction. They are bringing the interventions, possibilities and strategies by themselves while they go, they read about it, but they go on the stage and they talk about it and they defend it. It's exactly as if we are mimicking some sort of a staff meeting at a hospital or something, where everyone is there and we're discussing diagnosis. Okay, what do you think about that diagnosis? I don't agree. I think it's much more this or that, right? And this is where the critical thinking and the usage of knowledge is very important and is at play, right? Where they're gonna discuss it. Why you want CBT? I don't think CBT would be a good approach here. Why don't we use that approach? Okay, and then there will be some discussions in class. And sometimes they might not find answer. And they look at me, of course. And I'm like, look for it, go Google it, do your work. So it's very important sometimes to frustrate the student. It's okay. You don't have all the time to give them answer, because if you do so, then every time they'll need an answer, they'll look at you. Whether actually what you're trying to nurture, as I was discussing with my colleague Farah, is independent student. Okay, we want them to be as independent as possible. We don't want them to all the time reach out to us and ask us about every tiny single details. They should be able to find a solution and to defend their solution. Sorry. So another activity that was suggested, and I really like it, is differentiated curriculum design. We know that students that are in psychology, for example, or educators have to adjust the curriculum according to the student's need, yeah? Especially if we're talking about special need or people with determination. So here, what we're going to teach them is to assign a fictional gifted student profile. We give them student profile with strengths, interests, challenges, and ask them to individually design a differentiated curriculum plan for each and every student. And then put them in pair and let them discuss it together, right? So the students will share their curriculum plan and provide feedback to enhance their plan. So again, we are mimicking that kind of a collaboration that should happen in hospitals or clinic between multidisciplinary team member, right? So if that is not preparing student for real work, then I don't know what is it, right? This is the maximum we can do, at least at our level in our classroom, right? We can just immerse them in some sort of a practical exercises and hope that they will take it forward from there. We're building a lot of things here. We're building also leadership. We are building innovation, creativity, because again, if I'm always telling them what is right, what is wrong, it will stop them from being creative. It will stop them from producing knowledge themselves. Okay. Now, I would like to talk about something a bit more simple. Okay, we spoke about case studies, we spoke about simulations, debate. What about small exercises that I just can add in the middle of my lecture that would make the lecture less boring and a bit more interesting? And I would like to check how to do that. One of the exercises that I like, technical words. You know, when I give you that kind of paragraph with a lot of blank, fill in the blanks. It seems super easy, super simple. It's not. Especially if you have a lot of technical words. So of course, it's up to you to make it more difficult, a bit easier, depending on your student, depending on you want to torture them or not, depending on you love them or not. But again, it's your call, right? You want to do it the way you want. It's totally editable. But I tried playing with ChatGPT. Again, can you write a text about 500 words about the theory of Sigmund Freud, about the psychosexual stages of development? This is very basic, right? And of course, ChatGPT gave me those 500 words about the different stages of development. As you can see here, we have the oral stage, we have the different stages, the other different stages. We have the phallic, we have the anal, we have the latency and the adolescence. Everything is in there, okay? Of course, we need to check. This is very important. Never trust ChatGPT, 100%, okay? We need to just go back, read, and edit. Otherwise, after that, you see yourself saying, Doctor, what is this? I'm like, you don't want to be in that kind of a situation, right? Did you outsource it? I know it's coming from ChatGPT. So then once we do this, what we have to do after it is produced, we are going to ask ChatGPT to remove technical word. Just that's it, remove technical word. And here it is. Technical words are removed. And then the student, so you will not use, of course, the first text, you use the second one, give it to them, and let them just kind of find out, right? One thing that I really like to do with my students also is giving them those kind of exercises before the class and after, before and after. And I love to give them their own paper to correct later, so that they mark themselves. It's not a marked assignment, of course, but I'll ask them to mark themselves. And it's really funny because they'll be correct and like, oh my God, I wrote this is totally wrong. And they will remember it. And they keep the paper with them. It's okay, I don't need that paper anyway. It's just for them to follow up on their knowledge and to check out themselves. So again, it's some sort of an appropriation of the knowledge, yeah? Something else could be done with another tool now. Let me introduce you to another tool. Twee, do you know Twee? Anyone? Yeah, I know, Robert. So let me move a bit. Sorry, I need to show you something here. So this is Twee. This is a nice also AI that you can use. Let me just open it right here. Okay, so this is how Twee look like. I'm gonna make it a bit bigger so that you can see it. Okay, is it clear? Can you see it? Yeah. Okay, perfect. So I will ask Twee, so you go in, of course, and you have to put your name, blah, 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 and sign in. Once you're there, it's free. So once you're there, I'll ask something. So create a text or a certain topic. You have different options. So I decide to create a text. I created a text. I chose the topic, as you can see here, the complex of the survivor. And then I asked Twee to write it for an advanced level. I want a text for advanced level. I want it to be a fictional story. So you have different here, descriptive article, newspaper, blah, blah, blah. For me, I wanted a case study, so I said a fictional story. And the length, also you can choose the length of your text. I didn't want to be very long. Now, and then I push do the magic. And what will happen is that, okay, you have that text ready. The text is in front of you, it's ready, it's here. Okay? Now, there are different options I can use after my text is produced. So as you can see here, find fact, advantage and disadvantage, famous quote. Of course, you need to find the right option for your text, depends on what is produced there. One of the things that I like is fill in the gap. Okay, so what I'll do is that fill in the gap, and then this is what will happen. The text will be showing here in front of me, and I can select the word that I want to disappear. ChatGPT will choose for you. But here in Twee, you can just with a click select whatever word you would like the student not to see. Okay? Then what will happen once it is selected? After that, you go down, do the magic again, and here it is. What is very interesting is that, what is very interesting that it has also numbers, right? And then you can give the numbers and you're mind free, yeah? So everything is in there, and you have down here all the correct answers so that you can give them that back so that they can check out themselves. Now, something else you can do also is here, no, I'll just remove this. Okay, this. Create ABCD question for text. This is something that is possible. It's like MCQ, right? So you have the text, and then you create ABCD, do the magic, and here it is. You have MCQ question related to that text that has been produced at the beginning, and you have the correct answer here. Here I played again with ABCD question again. So again, it's all about practicing more and more and more. Something else very important, create open question to the text. So sometimes you can create MCQ, but sometimes you would like them to develop more, to talk more, to debate. So open question here are more suitable for that kind of interaction. And here it is. These are open question about the case study itself, about that specific test that you've chosen. That, for example, is very interesting for case study. For example, as Robert was explaining, for our final exam, the last question has to be, it's like the monster level question, has to be a case study, and we have to give questions about it. So sometimes we're out of resource. Where did I bring a case study from, right? Especially if you have to do it every semester. But sometimes we don't know what to write. So it gives you an idea. You can edit the idea, and then you can have these open questions that are very easily used by students, right? And again, fill in the gap. You can play with that. You have endless possibilities, and it's really amazing. And I'll go back to TWE again later on to tell you also what. Want to get out?
No, I want to see the other one.
This?
There was a comments. Stop it there. That looks like.
This is what you can do. Yeah.
What is that?
These are different options. Create true false statement also based on the text. You can click on this and do it. For example, it will produce statement, and the student will have to say whether it's true or false. This is very basic. This is why I didn't use it.
And this does come up like a screen like Nearpod?
This is exactly as I did here. Let me try if I can produce it, for example. So I need to paste my text here. Let me take this text. For example, complex of survivor. Copy. I'll paste it here. And here you are. Here you are, right? So you have different statement, and your student will have to say whether it's false or true, correct or not. Is that there or not? But again, as I told you, this is very basic. This is why I don't use it, but you have also here the answer. Yeah, so I'll get back to TWE again later on, because I want to show you also what it can do in terms of video analysis, which is also very interesting. Okay, let's move on. Now, fact and myth, again, to go back to true and false. This is one of the exercises that the students love. When you start, for example, your lecture, it's very interesting to tell them, oh, we didn't know. For example, schizophrenia, it's about schizophrenia. Schizophrenia is this and that, and they're like, oh yes. How many are yes, how many are not? Like, no. I love when they're wrong. So again, it's really interesting, and it helps them preparing their mind. I mean, starting the lesson, and they will be already preparing themselves and motivated to learn more about it, because you've already touched some base here and there.
They're enrolled.
Exactly, yeah. They're already in. So how to do that, how to prepare for these myth and facts very quickly before your class. So I asked ChatGPT, go back to ChatGPT again, write 10 facts and 10 intox, which is myth, about schizophrenia, and provide right answer for the intox fact. Why? Because I'm a very lazy person. I don't want to do it myself, so I asked ChatGPT to do it, and then of course I'll just double check if it's correct or not. So here you are, you have already 10 facts about schizophrenia, so all these statements are correct, and you have 10 intox. All of these statements are incorrect, and within the intox, after that, you have the correct answer. So you can play and mix those questions the way you want. You can put pictures on your PowerPoint. You can make it as attractive as possible. I always use like some humorous pictures and something like that that would catch the attraction of the student, a bit of irony, something like that, because they need to learn to somehow challenge the preconceptions in a way that would be interesting for them. So it's very easy, simple, didn't take me a minute, and I can easily put it on my PowerPoint and then play with it with my students. Now, critical thinking. We always talk about what? Developing critical thinking among our students. I think all what we have been doing so far, all these different exercises are tools that will help developing critical thinking. But let's look at some simple exercises. Okay, ChatGPT. I want to encourage my students at develop critical thinking. Therefore, could you write a 500-word text describing puerperal depression? Do you know what is that? Anyone? Puerperal depression?
Post-delivery.
Yes, yes. So we know the baby blues? Baby blues? When women just give birth to baby, like, ugh, they're not in a good mood, right? This is baby blues. Then we have the postpartum depression. This is when things got a bit difficult to handle, and we have a depression. And we have the puerperal depression or psychotic postpartum. This is where actually the woman might reach a level where she might have hallucinations, she might have delirium, she might even go for what we call the altruistic suicidal, which is killing herself with her baby, right? So this is one thing, yeah, become very, very dangerous to handle. So I would like to think about that, and instead, I'm being very specific, huh? Inside the text should be 5 wrong information about it that students should discover and correct. So I'm giving them a text, like, tell me, what do you think is correct, what do you think is right, how does that sound for you, yeah? So of course, ChatGPT will give me that. So it starts with a bit of some sort of a introduction, and it didn't give me the misconception inside the text, it gave it outside. But again, doesn't matter, I can put it inside, I can play with sentences and create it the way I want. But it gives me the misconceptions and it gives me the corrections. For example, here puerperal depression is synonym with the baby blues, and it's just a transient emotional response. Of course, it's not. It's much more intense. And I mean, puerperal psychosis require much more medical intervention than the baby blues. Okay, and you have here again the 5 misconceptions with their correction. You can play with it, you can have more, you can have less, as you wish. But it's a great exercise to teach the student to not trust whatever they read. Especially that they outsource their knowledge from websites. Not articles, not books, websites, and from where? Nowadays.
Friends.
Friends, okay. TikTok. TikTok is playing a big TikTok in my brain every time I hear it. I swear to God, I had a student that I was teaching 3 years ago. I received a WhatsApp from him, and it's like, hi, Dr. Howard. I was like, that's nice to hear from you, but why are you texting me? I mean, you're no longer my student, you graduated. And he's like, no, I just watched a video on TikTok, and I'd like you to tell me whether this is correct or not. Okay, I opened the video, and I'm like, come on, this is nonsense. They were talking about magical thingy or whatever. I'm like, no, that doesn't have any scientific science. Of course, I corrected the idea, and he's like, yeah, this is what I thought. And I thought about asking you because you were my teacher and because you're an expert in the field. And I'm like, thank you for doing that, because most of the people don't. Nowadays, unfortunately, the generations Z and Alpha are becoming consumers, right, of whatever they have. Social media, TV, movie, whatever, without any critical thinking. I mean, we can see them sometimes sitting in front of a TV like zombies for hours, or behind like a screen, whatever they're watching for hours. And when you tell them what you're doing, it's like, nothing, just watching. Okay, what did you watch? Oh, a story about whatever. They never really give you something interesting that they learned after, about what they were watching, what they were following, right? Or they're talking about superficial things, because unfortunately, now this is what most of the youth are exposed to. So as professor and educators and parents and sisters and brothers and who you are, we need to do something about that. Very simple, very easy, but we should do something about it. We should not just keep looking. This is why I reached to this part, which is my favorite, movie analysis. I love it. Okay, so I remember when I just first come to class and like I'm saying, okay, what is the assignment, doctor? And I'm like, okay, it was mental health course, mental health. Just came in. I'm like, okay, your assignment will be, do you know The Alienist? Netflix. Have you watched The Alienist? Any one of you?
Yes.
Raise hand. Okay. For the others, if you didn't watch it, please do. Now there is season 1, season 2, but at that time I was referring to season 1. Very interesting. So it's some sort of a thriller, killing, but it is based on psychological concept. This is what I liked. I'm like, okay, you are going to watch The Alienist. You have 4 characters in that movie. You need to choose one character and you need to analyze his personality. Go. And like, what? What should we do? You just watch the movie and you analyze the personality. You pick one character out of these 4, and I named these 4. And I'm like, okay. And they went, even one of them was like, "Doctor, I hate horror movie. Is it horror movie?" I'm like, "No, it's not horror. It's a bit gore, but it's not horror." But she did it, right? And they really enjoyed it. And they're like, "Doctor, we really never watched a movie in that way." They were analyzing and they were talking to each other about the different character, but not in some sort of superficial way. Oh, I like her or I don't like her. They were analyzing the trait of personality, which was amazing. And they were asking me, "Oh, doctor, but when he did that, in that specific scene, this is what we saw. It means that he had that narcissistic approach, or it means that they are anxious. This is anxiety, doctor, or this is something else. Oh, when he went through that kind of a bad trip, because one of them was using drug, when he went through that bad trip, is it hallucinations or is it because of the substance use? Thank you. Is it related to a mental disorder or is it substance use? This is what we call in psychology, in clinical psychology, differential diagnosis. What do we mean by differential diagnosis? Whenever we would like to say this patient is suffering from that specific issue or disease or mental disorder, we need to make sure it's not something else. So we look at different diagnoses that look similar and we look at the details to tell whether it is this or that. That's perfect. They can do it just after watching a movie. Season, 10 episodes, Netflix. You like to enjoy? Go ahead. Enjoy, watch. And one of them was like, "Doctor, thank you very much." Like, why? She's like, "I was watching the Netflix. I was like sitting and watching and enjoying. And my mom comes and was like, you always sitting watching. You do nothing. You're not preparing for your exam. You're not learning." I was like, "Mom, it's an assignment." Excuse me? What assignment? Are you making fun of me? Like, "No, I promise. This is the doctor what she told us to do." It's like, okay. So, thank you, doctor. I was really happy to tell my mom that. So, now how can we also take the maximum advantage of movie analysis? Of course, we cannot do that in all the courses. We cannot, suggest different movie. We cannot suggest different question without having any help. Okay, we need some help. So ChatGPT was really resourceful in that point. So I asked him, write some question in order to analyze the movie, The Intern with Robert De Niro. You know that movie?
Yeah.
The Intern, very famous, super nice. From the leadership and motivation perspective. So I was teaching a course about motivation and leadership. Okay, and I wanted my student to do something fun, and I really liked this movie. Like, okay, go watch it. Now I need some sort of a rubric. I need some answers because I cannot every time, because I'll give them the assignment and I'll go back to them probably 2 weeks, 3 weeks later. I might probably forgot most of the details. So I'll ask ChatGPT to write me the question. So ChatGPT gave me different question. Here I chose only 3, but different question related to leadership analysis and different question related to motivation analysis. As you can see, we have explored, for example, the motivation of both Jules Austin and Ben Whitaker. What drives them in their respective role and career? How do their motivation align or clash? So that's very important because it talks about desire, it talks about aspiration, it talks about expectations in life, and it talks about collaboration. How do they clash? Because one of them have authoritative approach and the other one was more relaxed, right? Creative approach. For leadership, for example, how does Ben Whitaker, Robert De Niro, approach the leadership differ from Jules Austin? So here we are looking at differences. I'm not telling you to tell me what it is, but what are the differences? What are the strengths and weaknesses of each leadership style? So it's a new way of teaching leadership style. Instead of putting my PowerPoint and go through the same boring descriptive, I'm just showing you something different. Go watch the movie and tell me. So when they go out for work, when they go to the practice, they know how to use the concept.
Situation. Observe situation.
Exactly. They will know, oh, this person has that type of leadership. They don't have to go with their mind to the PowerPoint. What was the different point? No, they already know. They watched it. They saw it on play. They know how it looks like. So it's very easy then to understand what type of leadership is that. And it's very easy to understand also the weaknesses versus the strength of each and every one. And then you'll be able to mix people together, to make people cooperate, right? This is very important. Okay, once I did this, I was very proud of myself. I said, okay, now I'm going to the lazy state. Can you give me a model answer for each question? Because I cannot. I have, this class was 30 students. I'm like, no, I'm very busy. I have a lot of things. Just give me model answer just to inspire me a little bit, have an idea. So one of the questions, what leadership style does the character of Jewel Austen and here played, etc. So it gives you a model answer. So of course I highlighted here to make my life easier the technical word, the most important thing that I have to focus on. Of course I will not take this model answer and check whether it is exactly the same what the student wrote, but what are the technical word or the technical ideas, because I hate the word technical word. If I'm not teaching neuropsychology, then it's fine. The student can use whatever word they want. It's okay. They can use their own words to explain whatever phenomenon, because the most important is not to exactly write what I have teach them, but it's important for me to know that they understood what they're talking about. So here, for example, it's a controlling leadership style involved in the day-to-day operation of her commerce startup, learn to trust her team more later on, delegate responsibility later on, and embraces more collaborative and inclusive leadership later on. This is what the student should at some point tell me. Was I happy? Not really, because it's still a bit descriptive. I cannot feel here the touch of the course. Because yes, we want students to understand, I mean, the phenomenon and the concept, but we want them also to have some sort of scientific wording, right? So I asked ChatGPT, can you link the answers to theories of organizational psychology? And here it is. It's an autocratic or controlling leadership style, which align with the concept of transactional leadership, and then the approach later on, the evolution, was transformational leadership style. These are the words that I want to see. So of course,
all these are ChatGPT outputs?
yes,
Yes.
this is magic, making our life much easier.
Yes.
This is what I'm telling you about, right? So here, what is very interesting is that again, for the best answer the student will have, the best grade, will have to use these words. But if a student does not use these technical words, but still convey some sort of a meaning, we still have some marks, of course, right? But there will be a slight minus because of the lack of these words, right? So this is where the improvement should be. So, quiz. This is my favorite, also one of my favorite play or let's say activity in class is quiz, Kahoot, as Robert said. I love using Kahoot. And I remember in neuropsychology again, I was teaching my student about the synaptic communication. So, you know, we have neurons in our brain, right? And neurons communicate with each other. So the end of a neuron communicates with the beginning of another one, like basically axon synaptic with dendrites, okay? So there is a complex phenomenon that happen at that level to trigger neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters such as, for example, dopamine, serotonin, I mean these different neurotransmitters. Dopamine, yes, exactly, right? So in order for that to happen, within the axon terminal of the neuron, the last one, there is a specific small sac that are closed that contain neurotransmitter. For these neurotransmitter to move from that axon terminal to the dendrite of the other neuron to communicate the information, we need the release of Ca2+, calcium. Calcium is Ca2+, okay? So I remember in one of my classes, I told them in order for, exactly what I was explaining, Ca+ has to be released in the synaptic cleft. This is the space between the two neurons. And all of them like, yeah, that's right. Yeah, this is the right answer. They were very happy and very proud of themselves. These are master students. I love teasing them. And of course, they all they said, yes, it's true, it's true, it's true. And then, zero. No one gave the right answer. Like, how come, doctor? I swear to God, they all jumped from their seats. Like, how come? We're sure. You explained that last time. No. I was like, Finished? You're done? Okay. You're done being frustrated? Okay. So can you read again? I'm like, what? They read it again. I'm like, yeah, that's correct. It's like, okay, is the calcium Ca+ or Ca2+? I'm like, we hate you, doctor. And we were all laughing about it, but believe me, they never forget that calcium is Ca2+, and they kept on reminding me, Ca2+, doctor, huh? Please. So again, I was teasing them and they knew that, but it was an amazing way for them to memorize the information. So using a lot of humor and quizzes in class make things much more interesting for a student and let them memorize much better. So how to do quizzes? Again, sometimes whenever I have to prepare for my Kahoot, I feel like, oh, okay, I have to go to my lecture, I need to check what I wrote, and I need to outsource questions from there. It takes some time. So, okay, let's use ChatGPT. Create a quiz with 5 multiple choice questions that assess student understanding of type of personality disorder as per the DSM-5. Very specific again. And I have my 5 questions. Borderline personality, blah, blah, blah. All the questions are in here. And of course, you can ask for the answer. If you know the answer, you don't need, but if you would like to just have the answer, and then again, please check. Very important. Thank you very much. Okay, and then it's very easy to put it on Kahoot and then or quizzes or any other quiz platform. Here it gives you the answer, whatever. Okay. Twee, let me go back to Twee, and here you are going to love the video analysis. I really liked it, and most of the time I use it in the introduction of my classes. So we have text analysis. I showed you text analysis when you produce a text and you ask questions and open questions, blah, blah, blah. Now I'll show you the video analysis. Oh, sorry. Okay, so here, oh, it's yeah, we can close it and open it again. Voilà, perfect. Okay, so how can you do that? We know that there are amazing videos on YouTube, right? Especially when we talk about TED speakers and different other videos also that are very, very interesting. And sometimes what we do is that at the beginning of our class, we put the video for the student to watch, and then we ask them questions, or we tell them to reflect on it, or at the end of the session, we show them a video that somehow summarize all what was discussed in class. But sometimes it feels like you lose them in the middle of the process, right? They're there. You feel like some are watching, but some of them are like, they're zoning out, right? And sometimes at the end of the video also, you don't have enough interesting question and you don't know how to elaborate more on what was in that video. So Twee can help producing questions, can help producing not only MCQ question, out of a video. It will produce MCQ question, it will produce the text of the video, it will produce also open question, but also introductory question. So before the video, you can already start discussing the concept with your student through these questions. Once they will start watching the video, they are already prepared, right? So that they will just stick to the knowledge, to the information even more, because they spoke a bit about it. Probably they said something that is nonsense or something that is important or something that is wrong, and then they will try to just check that out through the video. So you choose whatever video you want and you put it in here. So the video is the maximum length is 5 minutes. So if the video is longer than 5 minutes, what should I tell you? It's not a good medium anyway, because more than 5 minutes becomes very difficult. But you can also sometimes, if it's needed, you can do it on 2 times. Yeah, 2 times, and outsource the information. So here is it. I showed that video attachment style. So, and then here it gave me exactly what was said in that video, the text of the video. After that, I can ask here question. So I choose true false statement here. Look at the question. You have open question, you have A, B, C, D question, and you have true false. I chose true false statement, and here it is. It is produced along with the answers. Yeah. So I can also produce open question, and again, the questions are here, and it gives you also some small answer about it, because of course the student has to elaborate and to give example and to debate, but it gives you an idea about what was said in that video. Yeah. Then you have here, very interesting, this is what I was talking about, the warm-up discussion question. So these are questions that should be discussed before you play the video. You prepare for that video. And here it is. Let's discuss this interesting question. Do you think your attachment style affects your relationships? And it's personal. No, it's not general. I'm not telling you, I don't know. What, can you define the disorganized attachment style? They'll be looking at me as like, doctor, we're here to learn. But if I'm telling you, do you think that your attachment style affects your relationship, then you need to reflect on yourself. You need to think about your relationship. You need to think about past actual relationship and try to guess whether, oh yeah, that makes sense, that's true, it happened to me, this happened to me. And students start sharing their experience. And it helps them making it real and closer to their experience, right? We're not talking about some sort of a theory. It's something practical that happens every day. Do you think your attachment style can change over time? This is also something that is very important that we'll be discussing. Have you ever thought about how your attachment style affects your career choice? These are questions that are really interesting, and that's all the student will want at some point to rely on. So this is how you can use also in TUI, the video analysis, and that could be an amazing medium for your classes. Okay, let me move on. Here, oh no, I went back, sorry. I took you back in time, I'm sorry. Okay, here you are. So I'm gonna go through the rest very quickly because I'm sure I'm running out of time, I'm speaking too much. So, yes, now adjustment. So sometimes in our classes we have students of special need or people with determination. So, and sometimes we feel that kind of a challenge to tailor the assignment or the assessment to these students. We have like heterogeneous students. We have students that are doing very well and we have students that are not doing that well. So how can we give them an assignment that is tailored to both of them? How ChatGPT can help me in that? So create an assignment that is challenging for students who have a strong understanding of eating disorder. I chose eating disorder, but also provide support and scaffolding for students who are struggling with the material. And here it is. So it gave me an assignment. So the assignment here, they have to delve deeper into the intricate factors that contribute to the development and maintenance of eating disorder. Now look, we have part 1, comprehensive research. They need to go for research and outsource research. So choose specific type of eating disorder, conduct an in-depth literature review, analyze the complex interplay of psychological, social, and biological factors, create an organized and detailed report summarizing your finding. This content is for whom? For the students that are mastering eating disorder or the ones that are still struggling with the material? Of course. Now, if I give this material to student or this assignment to students that are struggling with the material, what kind of answer am I expecting?
Nothing.
If I'm going to assess the student exactly the same way, am I being fair? No, I'm not. Okay? So this is why we need to tailor it to the needs of the other student. And this is what I am going, as you said, guided exploration for students struggling with the material. Choose a type of eating disorder that interests you. So we're not talking about the most important, no, the one that is interesting for you, because we want to catch their motivation. Most of the students that are struggling are, for example, students that have ADHD, for example. So it's very difficult to catch their attention. So start with something that is interesting, that speaks to them, right? Utilize provided resources, including reading, lecture notes, and recommended articles. So we're not only saying books and articles, right? So they can even refer to their lecture. Identify 2 key psychological, social, or biological factors. So we're not making it very large. We want just 2 key factors. That's it. And write a brief explanation of each factor using clear language and concise description. So remember what we have written here. Analyze the complex interplay. Create an organized and detailed report. So here, the expectations are different. Okay? And this is very, very important. to not lose these students, to keep them on track, to keep them interested, and reflect on how these factors might contribute to the development or maintenance of the eating disorder. So the objective is still there. We're still following our objective, but we're making it even much more easier and accessible for the other students. Now, even for the submission guideline, as you can see here, it's 801 to 1,000 words. But again, what do we want? Clear identification of choosing eating disorder. This is for both advanced and the one that are struggling. Now, detailed analysis of complex factor. This is for the students that are mastering. Identification and explanation of 2 key factors, part 2, students that are struggling. Reflection on the role of this factor, part 2. And then proper citation is for everyone. So as you can see, for people that are struggling, we are making it a bit easier and a bit much more simple. Okay, we divided the task within 2 simple requests. Okay, we're not making it as for the advanced one. And even for the assessment criteria, ChatGPT can also help you adjust to it, right? So depth analysis in exploring complex factors, this is for the expert one. Clarity and accuracy in identifying and explaining key factors, this is for part 2, etc., etc. So as you can see, you can tailor, you can make it easier and accessible for everyone. Now finally, essay analysis. This is one of the things also that we do. So I asked ChatGPT to generate an example of a well-written essay on the role of culture in mental health stigma. This is what it shows. That meets the criteria for an A grade student. Okay, why am I doing this? Model answer. Exactly. In order for me to check what, let's say a perfect answer, what are the criteria of a perfect answer for me? This is what I want to look at. So of course ChatGPT will give you an answer, a model answer. I'm not interested by it. What I'm interested about is the criteria of grading. So here, that essay that deserve an A is an essay that have an exceptional understanding of the relationship between culture and mental health. So it has to articulate cultural norm, language, religious belief, treatment, adaptation, intersection with stigmatization. So it gives you indication and characteristics that you can point out to say, oh, this is an amazing essay versus this is an essay that has to be a bit improved. Yeah. And also, because I'm a fair person, I wanted to look at a D grade. What would the D grade looks like? So of course it has an answer, but it's not what is important for me. It lacks a clear hook to engage the reader, should provide brief overview on the key point, presented simplistic and vague manner, lacking specific example and depth analysis, mention the impact of language without exploring it further, because again, sometimes students will tell them, but you didn't explain the language factor. And they're like, but doctor, I mentioned it. And when you look at it, it's like one sentence. And they feel like it's enough. It's not enough. You need to give me examples. You need to explain how is that participating to the stigmatization versus destigmatization, right? So this is also some ideas that will help us being also fair with the student. Because let's be honest, when we're correcting thousands and thousands of paper, I'll tell you something. My psychology student, when they write their exam, I love them, but it's a torture. Because these are the students that will not only finish all the booklet of the exam, but they will ask for more paper. And then I find myself in a very isolated moment when I have to correct, and I'm asking myself a very philosophical question. Why am I doing this to myself? Because I ask them that. Because I always tell them, if you give me a simple answer, don't expect great. I need analysis. I need example. I need, and then I suffer, but it's okay. Because at the end of the day, they learn and they're expert, and I'm happy. So, finally, should we believe what ChatGPT is saying?
No.
Precocious. We have to be precocious. I'm gonna be very quick about that. So I just asked it to write a 500-word essay about nomophobia. You know what is nomophobia? Nomophobia? No mobile phone phobia. How many of you cannot stay away from their phone? How many of you keep their phone in their arms while sleeping or under their pillow? Right? So nowadays we're seeing more and more something that is called nomophobia, which is the no mobile phone phobia. And it's a new phenomenon going on, and it's very interesting to look at it because it's not yet categorized as an addiction, but many now expert psychologists are talking about some sort of an addiction, right? So that's important to look at. Anyway, so I asked ChatGPT to write me 500-word text, blah, blah, blah. So it gave me that kind of a statistic, and I'm like, let me check that. Is that correct? Okay, it's correct. Fine. Clear. This is why it's in green. However, of course, ChatGPT will always give you references, and I think that now we know that sometimes it could be hallucinations. You know that, right? So especially 3.5. At least the version 4.0 is better, but 3.5 might have a lot of wrong references, so don't trust it as it is and go and check. So I checked, it was half hallucinated because yes, the text existed, but the year was different. So be careful. Sometimes the year of edition is different, sometimes the journal is different, sometimes one word is different from the title. So we need to all the time double check so that we're not falling. All of this were actually wrong. Now, can ChatGPT evaluate its own production? I ask it. Evaluate the limit of your text, the nomophobia text. Can ChatGPT do critical thinking? Let's check that. Can you highlight the limits of this essay? Its own essay, basically. Simplification, lack of personal perspective, limited scope of references, cultural and contextual differences were not there, limited counter-argument, ethical consideration, psychological factor. The essay could further delve into psychological mechanism, impact on adolescence wasn't there, causal relationship, preventive strategy, and finally, here it says that these limitations highlight the need for further research and nuanced analysis. What does that mean? ChatGPT is not perfect, right? Even ChatGPT is criticizing itself. So this is something that we can do with our students, showing them that if you outsource your work, if you take it from ChatGPT, don't be then surprised if you don't have a good mark. Because even a well-written, supposedly well-written paragraph has all these critics, right? So again, this is how we teach our student ethics. This is how we teach them how to use tools. We don't tell them that, oh, ChatGPT or AI is a monster that you should definitely run away from, because this is wrong, because this is their new reality. We need to make them learn how to use it wisely and ethically. Yeah. And that's it. Thank you very much. Sorry, I'm being loud.
I have just a brief, quick question, and I know everybody's ready to go, but nobody drove from Allen like I did.
Close the doors.
I'm in the lower grades. I'm not at a university. So my question is, because I am very much interested in taking the new world into the younger world, because the younger students are there, but the administration and the institutions are not getting this at all. What are doctors like yourself in education and your colleagues doing to help the middle school and the high schools understand that they are 60 years behind?
Okay, this is a 1 million question. So basically, I know that sometimes there is an ethical consideration all the time, and especially in schools, probably the leaders think that the students are not ready yet to be given that kind of a freedom to use AI and to delve into AI. But the problem is that they don't understand that once these students, when they leave the school, they have fully access to it. Are we fooling ourselves? They're using it. So we need to make them learn how to use it. Probably university, we have much more of a freedom because we are, at the end of the day, raising adults. They're no longer minors. Because the problem here with the schools is most of the time, oh, you're going to make problem with parents. Educational parent style, right? We don't want the school to tell the student to use AI and then parents to complain about it because it's a big issue here. But I think that nowadays schools are being more and more open to the idea of incorporating a bit of it and trying it with a limit. Now, for example, in our university, we have received, me and Robert, and we've done some sort of a workshop to school counselors about how to use AI into counseling students for their future career. So we show them how they can use AI and how AI can be of a greater help, how they can produce some sort of a test in order to help the student understand himself and understand where he wants to go and where he's going. So I think if we do workshop with either teachers or probably school counselors or even students, because we've done also with student, Robert just done a workshop with students, and now it's more and more spread, and we are receiving more and more requests and demand about explaining AI to students. So now I think this fear about AI will get a bit settled, because even at the level of university, if you look at opinion on the website, you'll find some people that are totally against it. Totally 100%. Like, no, we should ban it from university. We should never even talk about it. But come on, I mean, we cannot deny reality. Especially for me, I'm a psychologist. I'm against denying reality. We have to accept it as we do point, right? And this is their new reality. We have to do something about it. So I think that interaction, university school, will make it at some point a bit easier for school leaders to accept these kind of, let's say, technologies or approaches. We keep doing. Thank you. Yes?
Thank you very much for a very interesting presentation. We've got lots of really good ideas to test out myself. The time that you spend checking AI output, is it still worth the, I mean, does it still save you a lot of time if you don't rely on it? I'm just curious, because you want to be very cautious with, especially with generating text.
Of course. For example, if I have to write a text myself,
right,
it will take me probably, I have to think about it, I have to write it, I have to add some ideas from here and there, and then to do some outside reading. So that will take me, I don't know, let's say best 1 hour.
What about like if you use,
best.
if you want to do a text about nomophobia, for example,
yeah,
you find an article written by a human that you could use in your class. So I mean, you know what I mean? So
you can, but sometimes it's not tailored the way you want. Here, I ask a very general question. Sure. Give me 500. But if, for example, I would like to say, give me a text that talks about this and that, or give me a text that addresses that specific CLO. If I'm being specified, that I cannot find it somewhere, right? So it's easier for me to write here to have, some, for example, if I want a case study, I cannot also look outside, because you'll find case studies, but most of the time incomplete, most of the time not well developed the way you want. But here you can put all the different element of your recipe, and you can somehow find something that might look like what you expected, and then you can edit it. And most of the time these are very few edit that has to be done. And I think within probably what would take me 1 hour would take me probably 10 minutes. So that's a great difference. And then I can, pay attention to something different. Then I can look at how I can bring new resources or new information, or how I can find, for example, something attractive, how I can think about the form instead of all the time just thinking about the content. And because this is one of the mistakes that we teachers or professors are doing, we all the time think that content is the most important. It is. But for students, content by itself, it's boring. You have to find a way to give it to them. Otherwise, they're like, and you lose them, right? And you have to be a bit severe and disciplined, and we don't want to be that kind of person, right?
If I may just react to your comment to her question. We need to look at AI, and these tools are incredible tools. They are enablers. They are not a one-stop shop solution to our problems, or so this is really critical to keep in mind. We use it as enablers. We check, fact check, double, triple fact check, and worse yet, we are not worse yet, but we are in an authoritative academic community, so we have to be careful of what we do as academics as well, because we have an academic integrity to uphold. So that's just something to keep in mind.
And I'll also tell you something else very important. When we look to the internet and we're looking, for example, for a paragraph about nomophobia, sometimes we need, not sometimes, we always need to find trusted sources. So this is something that we do automatically also. Now, if you, for example, have ChatGPT-4, you can go to Consensus, and Consensus actually is related directly to all articles and scientific resources and material. So that's very interesting. So you're kind of make somehow sure that it is coming from a trusted part, right? So from articles, from book, and not from websites. Because this is, for me, this is what all the time makes me very, very anxious, is that the students are outsourcing information from websites. Because you don't know what is written there, or blogs. I mean, everyone can write whatever, and if you take it from there and take it for granted, you feel like as it's correct, it is not. So this is one thing that we do. Something else, it's a bit twisted, but believe me, students do it. So sometimes when you give them exercises or we give them paragraphs, especially if we give it to them on a soft copy, they can copy paste it and check whether it is sourced from the internet or not.
Yeah.
And the problem is that after that, oh, she's taking information, she's copy pasting from the internet. Even if we're using it for an exercising class. Our model is use copy pasting from internet. So that's fine, we can copy paste.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yeah, thank you so much. You guys are very smart, and if anybody research is beyond an explanation and comprehend. That anybody, after a scientist or sacred agencies, their researcher know whole world. I know well. I'm a researcher as well with the science and geopolitics and take as well. I was always curious and suspicious about ChatGPT as well. If you type, it's depends the person's mentality, that how you think. For example, I give one prompt to ChatGPT how to become successful in life. It will show you one or two options, maybe negative or positive, or by one person. If you can force ChatGPT by 1 second. You have to prompt in this way that ChatGPT tell me 200 tips how to become successful in life. Then within 200 tips, it will give 200 tips.
Of course.
Then you have to select some of the premium, easiest, secretive and lucrative, luxurious secret out of the 200, few of them. It's impossible for a person to be divided in 200 type of tasks to become successful. It's impossible.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So this is the way it's depend on the personal person, he she use it, because it will give you a one side of information when you give him it to a particular query. He will fetch the data from the particular area. If you give it the mammoth and huge task, extreme task, force it to 200 points, then it will jargon in whole of internet and diaries and books and journal, open source information from different sources.
Yes.
This is the small point I have noted in
Absolutely. Thank you for this comment. I totally agree. I mean, the more you ask, the more you'll have diverse opinion or diverse, let's say, strategies. But if you just say, for example, only 10, this is why I'm telling you, when you say 10, just look at these 10. If you're satisfied, that's fine. If you find whatever you want your student to know, that's fine. If not, ask it to give you more and more and more and more and more until you're satisfied. Right? So it helps you. It's some sort of a shortcut, but it's not replacing you.
Yeah, that's a fact.
Yeah.
That's a fact, yeah.
On the more and more, I had a business communication course. I needed to teach the concept of SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, as a way for students to think about applying for jobs, their own personal strengths, weaknesses. I had psychology students, fashion designers, journalism, mass communication, film and television, hospitality, tourist administration and animation students. There is no one size that fits all of those. But I went to ChatGPT, just said, can you give me an internship level job for this, for this, for this, for this, for this. 20 minutes later, and I'd got the case. I could go into the classroom and say, okay, you sit down together and just work out what are your strengths, and they were off with it, and it spoke to them. It was something that they could answer because it was very particular to their own case. I can't do that. I'm not
hotel management specialist that only do tourist administration, English teacher, but it's got it in the database in the office. And I think huge numbers of examples is what you can get from it.
Yeah.
And I also want a student ask from me that Google Bard is better than ChatGPT or ChatGPT is better than Google Bard.
Yes, it is.
That's why it's important.
Hard to say.
They're all tools.
Yeah.
This is what I would answer. They are all tools. Some people prefer Google Bard. Some people prefer ChatGPT. Doesn't matter. The most important is how you use it.
Correct.
Not what you use. Because nowadays, you will see in the future we'll have more and more. Right? But it's not about, again, what am I using, but is it really answering my needs? And how am I using it? It has to target my objective. For example, we have Elicit. Elicit is an amazing tool, but it won't give you some sort of written text or written analysis. It will give you just the article and then the result. That's it. So it doesn't, for example, in order for you to know more about the methodology and the design, you have to open the article and read it. Whether actually if you go to ChatGPT, of course not 3.5, probably the 4.0, and you tell them, okay, can you, for example, summarize that specific article? It will summarize it to you. And if you ask, okay, what kind of design do they use? It will give you the design. So again, it depends on what you want to use, what are the information, how deep the information should be, how independent you are with the resources that you will have. Do you need to stick to the text, or are you kind of independent? You just need some information and you feel the rest by yourself because you're an expert. Again, it depends on. For example, this is one workshop I've done and I'm doing with students. It's about how to write a research paper using the help of ChatGPT. So this is one of the things ChatGPT can help taking you over all the different steps from finding an idea to publishing your article. So that's possible without asking it to write for you, of course, because then it's plagiarism, and then your article, even if it was accepted and published, will be rejected later, and a huge shame. So we don't want that. Yes.
Thank you.
Sorry. Yes.
Thank you for the presentation. But I can conclude as someone in the special education sector, working with determination as well. So I can see based on two lectures,
Robert.
Robert and myself, I would say that when you came to the part about how to use it for differential instruction, and then how to decide who ChatGPT will replace. So eventually, I didn't see the part that ChatGPT taught you how to teach. I saw the part that notification of the assignment. So I was just sitting here and then you said the assignment to me, for me to get it. So eventually my conclusion was, okay, it made us smarter for real, but our job is still essential. Of course. I mean, what we know as the philosophy, methodology of teaching is what will drive the effects of our learning into engagement.
Of course.
So that's very
You can still
important.
ask, for example, for advices, but ChatGPT will never replace you and will never replace your expertise nor your experience in your field. Because only you know how to deal with human beings. It's just a tool, again. It's not a person that has expertise. It has theoretical knowledge. It can sum it up and provide it to you in some sort of a shortcut manner, but you do the magic.
That's what you do now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like we are engineer has a helper, same Gemini or Bard or ChatGPT, just helper. We have to take it as a helper.
Of course.
And sister, actually, what I have observed in Bard, Gemini, and ChatGPT, like you are professor, two professor, but same subject even. But both way of presentation, both their knowledge, their accent, their a lot of difference. Even professor, same title. But what I have observed, there are a lot of different results of ChatGPT and Gemini. Gemini or Bard, when they mistake I'm sorry, I'm new, I'm not so learned or something, but ChatGPT never acknowledge his mistakes.
Yeah, it's narcissistic.
But
It's a narcissistic tool. It will never tell you that.
This is different. I have in every query part of Gemini just apologize for the information. When I say it's a very idiot
It's
mistake
wrong.
you have made, sorry, yeah, I'm mistaken, yes. But there's an interesting point I have found in Google search, ChatGPT and Gemini. Google search with the simple google.com search will give you something interesting. As you know, all from 100 years since 2000 Google came, Google read first 3 words, but these AI tool read more than 20 words or 30 words. Each word they emphasize and understand. Whatsoever you are emphasizing, it will take it as it is, as what you have, your intention or what you have written. This is so fascinating.
Yes, yes. This is why it's fantastic.
Yeah.
This is why it's amazing.
Yeah.
But again, this is why we have to be cautious all the time. We should be on charge.
Yeah.
Not the AI. That's it, right? Let's keep on reminding ourselves of that. AI is a facilitator, is an enabler, is a tool.
Fair.
We are guiding it. So without us, it's not gonna make sense. Hopefully, they will not replace us. Okay, thank you very much.